Yeah, mind-blowing, isn't it? Absolutely mind-blowing. And yet for us it's like, that's what I do for a living, is make coffee. I've got a second career, you know. This all goes tits up, I'm buying a Starbucks. The plan today is then we're going to do the first day of the coaching leader. So we're going to look at what leadership is and what coaching is and how the two kind of map together. You've looked at, you've literally dismissed, you've gone that. So basically, because you've never come across it before, coaching's really changed the way that I lead. Really changed. So they've been almost going away and doing that work for themselves. So we thought, well, let's make it more overt. Let's kind of stick it in a group and see how coaching really starts to shift the way in which people do leadership. What I'd like you to do then is just go for a wander around the room. There's a few leadership quotes up. Different people have said different things about leadership over the years. All I'd like you to do is wander around, read each quote, and then when you've read each quote, so obviously one there, and then the rest are kind of around there. When you've read each quote, I'd like you just to decide the one that resonates the most with you. The one that kind of makes you go, yeah, that's it. Sometimes think of it like parenting. I wouldn't always tell my kids everything that's happening because actually I want them to protect them from, they don't need to know that yet. Yeah? They don't need to worry about that. That's okay, that's my job to worry about that. So that's how I work with those two. It's a great shout, Tracy. Any other words you'd want up here? It's like the wind blows and the flipping everything moves and I'm like, all right, we've got to go again with this. So for me, I'm constantly rolling the punches, I'm working in shifting sand, and I don't know how to, without painting a picture and using a metaphor, I can't even get my head around it. That's how it is for me. So I don't think there's ever a moment as a leader where I've thought, I've got this. I don't think I've ever done that. What happens if, because let me, if you don't know the story of Moses, right, the trip should have took them a few months. Reportedly, it took them 40 years. And if you look at the path that they travelled, if you ever see it mapped out, they've gone around in circles. So in Moses' situation, what if he's got some individuals who go in, not really bothered about the promised land, quite happy here? Do you know, like, don't actually, in fact, and this happened to Moses in the story, if you know it, they were going to him, can we not just go back to Egypt? I preferred it there. It was better there. So what if you've got individuals who aren't actually interested in your task? What if you've got individuals who actually disrupt the team? What if you've got a team that aren't built for the task? Don't actually have the skills to achieve the task? Does that? Yeah. What if your vision's wrong? What if you've overshot it? What if the promised land doesn't actually exist? Do you know, like, what? I'm just interested in a lot of questions like that. Do you know, is that all right? So just throw these round a little bit. Almost these like what if, trying to apply it to your own situation. Is that okay? They've actually done that. They've led people to a place of saying, oh, we've got to get ourselves ready for the end of the world, or for whatever it is. It doesn't actually exist. But people have bought into it and believed it and followed them and gone with it, to the point where they'll actually kill themselves. It's awful leadership, but at the same time it's strong leadership. Do you know, like, yeah, it's really wrong, but actually in terms of the leadership that's in there, that's amazing. That you can actually lead people to the point of that for something that doesn't even exist. It's amazing, isn't it? Sometimes I think through, I need my team. I don't need to worry about that. That's okay, that's my job to worry about. Where I thought, yeah. So why do people generally resist change or struggle with change or not want change? So my work is all about change. It's all about growth and development. And I see this all the time. I work with numerous people throughout the course of a year who can clearly see that change will bring something better to their life, that change will develop something, you know, like it will actually make them happier in some ways, and yet resist changing. I think there's something deeper going on than that. I think there's something even deeper. I think change is people respond emotionally to change. I don't think it's a logical thing, because I think I come across people who can logically go, yeah, that would be better. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, that'd be well better. Right, should we change? No. No, because there's something, change brings an emotional response, I think, for people. Now, there's a guy called Stephen Grosh who's he's a psychoanalyst, and he's wrote a really interesting book about his work with his clients, and it's called The Examined Life, and he just tells stories of his work with his clients as a psychoanalyst. But honestly, it was like a light bulb for me when I read it. He basically said, change cannot happen without loss. And I think not the only reason, but one of the biggest reasons why people resist change, I think Stephen Grosh is absolutely right with this, why people resist change is because of the fear of what they're losing. They're losing something. Totally. Grosh goes on to say, and this is the bit that I was really like, he's so right about this, is that he actually says the biggest loss that people feel in change is the loss of their predicted future. So what he says is, and I think he's right about this, he says that the future is very much alive in your present. So you're living right now, and you have some idea of like what next week looks like, what next month looks like, what next year looks like. We think we have that idea, right? We think we do. So we have a predicted future. You have what change does is it robs us of our predicted future. We don't know what that looks like anymore. So for me, I think this is why things like cancer, divorce, somebody dying, being made redundant, things like that, in and of themselves are difficult changes to deal with. But actually what they all do, and they all have in common, is that they rob people of their predicted future. Well, what's that going to look like? I don't know what a year from now even look. And I think that for people is quite scary, because there's no security in that. We find as human beings some sense of security in what we think how the future is going to play out. Is that? Whereas if we've no sense of how the future is going to play out, I think we really resist change. So I think sometimes people return to abusive relationships because they know it's predictable. Yeah. They know what happens, they know that pattern, and they know they can cope with that. What they don't know they can cope with is this new life. This shifted me massively, because I used to think of change in terms of gains, because I'm a bit like Katie, I love change. I get bored easy. So I'm like, oh, let's do something different. So as a leader, I'd be like, right guys, let's do this. And then people would be like, can we just stop changing stuff? I've had enough of change. And I couldn't understand that because it wasn't in my world. I was like, yeah, let's just change stuff, because I find it exciting, and I was always thinking about the gains. People across the road, the knowing where vision, you know, like that quote around, you can't blow an uncertain future resort. Do you know, like it's almost that kind of thing. And feel free to eat wherever you want, jump on the couch, ask at hand. So it's that tension. Counselling starts in someone's present moment. How are you feeling? Saying they don't need rescuing. They're okay. I think the difference between leadership and management is dead simple. A leader is someone who's kind of knows the direction that we're heading in and is going to move people forward into that direction. A manager is someone who's just making sure that people are doing what they're meant to be doing. So when people are really immersed in what they're doing and what they're with, I think that's when they're at their very best. When I look at children and they're just immersed in their play or their learn, I think they're at their very best there. So I'm going to suggest that one of our roles as a leader, as a coaching leader, is to somehow create an environment where other people, our followers, if you like, the people that we're leading, our team, can be in their moment more as well. I notice this in myself. I am at my best when I'm in the moment. I do my best training, my best coaching, my best whatever it is, even if it's fitness. I do my best when I'm actually just in that moment with that, not thinking about all the other stuff that's going on for me. So I reckon one of the best things we can do for our team is to give them as much space and opportunity to be in their thing, be in their moment, as we possibly can. I'm going to take away with you for the next week, because we've got another day next week, obviously. See you later, guys. Take care of yourself. See you next week. Really hard to know that you're on Man United fan, yeah. Where did you actually grow up?
No, where did you go? Did you? All right, okay. No, it's fine, mate. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just do it live. Just absolute shit. See you, Jace. See you next week.